It is 8 p.m. and here are the top stories we're following.
There are too many other schools, too many other everyday places that have become killing fields. Let's meet the moment. Let us finally do something.
No more carnage. President Biden reigniting calls for gun reform in the wake of recent mass shootings.
We can't fail the American people again.
But recent tragedies have people rushing to buy more guns.
People are observing what's happening and thinking about, well, what if that was me? What if that was my kids?
Tonight, we're going in depth on the state of America's gun epidemic and the effort to help survivors of trauma.
We want a place where you can walk in and say, I need help. And we can go, okay, we got you.
For God's sake, do something. After Columbine, after Sandy Hook, after Charleston, after Orlando, after Las Vegas, after Parkland, nothing has been done.
Tonight, President Biden renewing his call for lawmakers to act against the gun violence we've seen over the past month in Uvalde, Texas, and Buffalo, New York, and yet another attack, this time in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Good evening and thank you for watching Denver 7 News on Local 3. I'm Jacqueline Allen.
And I'm Russell Haythorne. As we mourn the lives lost in recent mass shootings, President Biden again demanding action by Congress on new gun control laws. In a rare evening address, Biden called for a ban on assault-style weapons and high-capacity magazines. But an agreement to ban assault weapons is highly unlikely to gain enough Republican support. So the president said at the very least we should raise the age to buy a weapon from 18 to 21.
Most recently, 4 people were gunned down inside this hospital in Tulsa. This on the heels of a mass shooting involving 19 children and 2 teachers in Uvalde, Texas. We'll have updates on those in just a moment, but those shootings follow yet another massacre, killing 10 people at a grocery store in Buffalo. Today, the alleged Buffalo shooter appeared in court for an arraignment on several murder and domestic terrorism charges.
And since the beginning of the year, there have been more than 230 mass shootings nationwide, according to the Gun Violence Archive, and 20 of them just since Uvalde, with 105 people shot and 17 killed. It's an epidemic that seems to be growing, and even experts are at odds on how to control it.
And as Denver 7's Rob Harris shows us, shootings that capture the attention of the country also move many Americans to arm themselves.
We 100% understand that rights come with responsibilities.
Edgar Antione is no stranger to the gun range.
I am the founder of Guns for Everyone. We've instructed close to 100,000 students in the state of Colorado. We run thousands of students monthly.
Antione says his group has experienced what national trends tell us, that high-profile shootings, like those we've seen in the past few weeks, lead to big spikes in both gun sales and gun training.
So a lot of these people are people who have been holding it off for quite some time. They've already been thinking about it, and in that process, this happened, unfortunately, and that's kind of what pushed them over the fence, over the edge to get this.
Bristlecone Shooting, Training, and Retail in Lakewood has seen the same increase in interest, particularly for concealed carry training. Owner Jacqueline Clark says there's been a 60% increase in registrations just in the past week.
And I think it's because people are observing what's happening and thinking about, well, what if that was me? What if that was my kids? How could I better protect myself?
Take a look at this graph from the Brookings Institution. It analyzes FBI data on background checks for firearm sales across the country. And after the mass shootings in Sandy Hook, San Bernardino, and Parkland, as well as the unrest during the pandemic, we see levels much higher than normal predictions. But both Jacqueline Clark and Edgar Antione see the related increase in training as a good thing, a way to increase safety for both gun owners and our community.
We're always happy to see them going after the training. That shows that they want to be educated and do it the right way.
If we get more educated individuals out there that understand keeping guns away from people that shouldn't access these firearms, this is a fantastic way to kind of approach that.
Thanks, Rob. The state of Colorado requires universal background checks for all gun sales. According to state data, more than 443,000 InstaChecks were reported before sales in 2021, and only about 2% of them were denied.
Tonight, we've learned 2 doctors, a receptionist, and a patient were the victims in yesterday's shooting at a hospital campus in Tulsa, Oklahoma. In a letter written by the shooter, he blamed one of the doctors for the ongoing pain following back surgery. The suspect also purchased the AR-15 rifle he used in the shooting just 1 hour beforehand. We're also learning new details about the Robb Elementary School shooting in Uvalde. A Texas state senator says the commander at the scene during the shooting was not informed of the panicked 911 calls from students inside classrooms begging for police. That senator is calling the lack of communication a, quote, total system failure.
Well, mass shootings, especially like the one in Uvalde, Texas, leave behind a collective sense of despair and trauma, and not just for those directly connected to the school or business.
They can directly impact people all over the world, and they can be re-traumatizing for those who have lived through them before.
Coloradans know all too well the trauma of living through mass shootings, which is why these two women we're about to introduce you to are determined to help.
Megan Dearman and Della Curry have shared many laughs, but they've also shared a great deal of grief.
When Sandy Hook happened, my daughter was the exact same age. They were a theater. That's my theater. That's where I grew up.
In 2012, when the theater shooting happened, I lost my 6-year-old cousin Veronica. Anytime a shooting happens, you flash back to the news, to the funeral. It's been about 10 years now. The news never stops with mass shootings. This one with children.
I read a list of all of the school shootings that have happened then. I don't remember half of them. How terrible is that?
Which is why this Aurora duo is now teaming up again, relaunching a concept they created right before the COVID lockdowns.
We're so connected through social media, but where is that community connection of going into a place?
They're calling it the Colorado Resilient Life Center. They've relaunched their website and soon hope to open a building. Through both, the nonprofit hopes to offer care and healing programs, classes, counseling, and other events, all free of charge, all with mental health in mind.
We're all survivors right now of all of this stuff going on. You might not have been there, but you're seeing the news, you're hearing these things, and you might be one of the people who's not desensitized to it.
These two believe no one should need insurance coverage or government assistance to access care.
As a form of community aid, as opposed to waiting on maybe your health insurance, we want to make a center where people can say, I have this struggle.
It's an idea born out of mass shootings, but a place for all to gather.
We want a place where you can walk in and say, I need help.
In Aurora.
Then we can go, okay, we got you.
Russell Haythorne, Denver 7.
And if you'd like to donate to the Colorado Resilient Life Center, or if you'd like to volunteer or offer your services, just go to our website, thedenverchannel.com, and click on this story for links to all of that information.
Developing right now, pre-evacuation orders have been issued for a new wildfire burning in Pueblo. This is happening at Lake Minnequa, which is southwest of downtown Pueblo. It's burning about 20 acres. No word yet on how it started. Now, also in Pueblo, rescue crews located the bodies of 2 workers trapped in a coal pile at a power plant. Rescue crews have been working since about 9 this morning to free those 2 workers. They were believed to be buried under 40 to 50 feet of coal at the Comanche generating station. Now, there's still no word yet on how they were trapped, but an investigation is underway.
Southwest Airlines is facing $1.3 million in fines for allegedly violating dozens of Colorado state labor laws during the pandemic. The Colorado Department of Labor and Employment says Southwest violated, quote, nearly every requirement when it comes to things like paid sick leave, as well as COVID-19 testing and quarantining. Southwest says the allegations are unsupported and that specific employees aren't mentioned in the report. An appeal is now pending.
Colorado's COVID-19 hospitalizations jumped 38% as new cases just keep going up across the state. The Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment reported the average number of people admitted with the virus doubled in the past week. It's up to 108 people every day. That is a significant increase compared to mid-April when 77 people were receiving hospital care for COVID-19. Now, 12% of COVID tests are coming back positive now. Anything over 5% raises public health concerns. Most of Colorado is still considered low risk by CDC standards, but Boulder, Broomfield, and Jackson counties have moved into the high risk level.
That rise in COVID hospitalizations and cases continues to be a concern for state leaders in Colorado in recent weeks. Health officials like Scott Bookman are doubling down on treatment options. Getting vaccinated is number one, but there are other things you can do to supplement that.
Paxlovid is an oral antiviral. It reduces risk of hospitalization by 90% if taken early in the course of the illness. Remdesivir is still effective, and it is still certainly recommended.
For easy access to these treatments, visit covid19.colorado.gov and then scroll down and click the tab under Treatments for COVID-19.
Victims of fentanyl and Colorado leaders needing to find a new approach in the fight against fentanyl.
This is probably the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. I would not wish this on my worst enemy.
Temperatures bounce back nicely today. You're going to really like the 80s in the 7 day.
Plus, a former Broncos QB finding a new motivation for mushrooms.
Will I be able to go to work? Will I be tripping out? They're functional mushrooms. It's not psychedelic.